What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I've got another podcast with my boy Relly Hall, all the way up from Ohio. How's it going, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Cold, but doing good.
Yeah, very, very true. All right, I thought we'd just get straight into some NBA. Let's talk about it right now. Now, I want to try and diversify this episode up, not make it so much about the Cavs. And I want to start off with a team that has been had way high expectations of the Cavs, but have kind of fallen down a little bit this year. And that's the New York Knicks. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're like really interesting in a lot of players. And I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on Jalen Brunson. Do you think how would he go? Because they're apparently super keen on him. If they don't work out a trade on the deadline, they're apparently going to offer him 20 million a year for 4 years in free agency. That's what's being reported right now. What do you think?
I think if the New York Knicks can pull that off, that would be a great move. Because from Jalen Brunson part, I've watched a lot of Dallas games, and Jalen Brunson is a starting caliber player, right? And he fluctuates depending on if Luke is healthy, and sometimes he can be off the bench, sometimes he can start. Like I said, based off of if Luka Doncic is playing that game. But if New York can do that, I would try to get him a little cheaper. But honestly, I think that is a contract that makes sense.
Mm,
But if they get Jalen Brunson, I think he would be very, very impactful. The only problem though is since Tom Thibodeau likes defensive players, I don't think Jalen Brunson is going to really be that, especially since he's the same height as Kemba, might be
mm,
1 inch taller. So it's going to have its questions, but I do think that would be a great acquisition for New York, though, for
yeah.
sure.
Do you know why I reckon he actually works a little bit better than what Kemba does? Kemba's such like an on-ball guard that I feel like he's a score-first kind of guy. But when it comes to Jalen Brunson, he's averaging like 6 assists per game or something this year. I think it's 5 to 6 with Luka in the team. Clearly can play make pretty well. And he's had experience, I think, playing off ball with Luka. He doesn't bring that defense, but I don't think he necessarily takes a whole lot of shots away from like RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, who they want shooting the ball a little bit more. So that's the way I kind of see it. But is this 20 million? Is that overpriced for a guy like him? Because we've spoken about this before. There aren't really too many big free agents next year. And one that shows promise like Jalen Brunson could be one that a lot of teams really, really like, if you know what I mean. So in next year's market, is he worth $20 million, or would you, if you're the Knicks, go for a more like a defensive type of guy that can play make, like even Ricky Rubio, or even try and trade for a Malcolm Brogdon? What would be the go, do you reckon, for New York here?
If I had it my way, because if I go off New York Knicks history, they haven't had the best when it comes to paying players like that big money long term. So if I had it in both of best worlds, I would trade for Brogdon. I think Brogdon would be a better long term fit for the Knicks. The problem with getting Jalen Brunson that money, like I said previous, is when you give a player like that $20 million, the New York Knicks for some reason get in a situation where they just cannot afford the player they really wanted because they tied in a player like Jalen Brunson to 20 million. And for the NBA, that's a lot of money for a player like Jalen Brunson. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but 20 million hurts. Like Dallas right now, they paid Tim Hardaway about that, right? And they're
Mm,
hurting because they can't really make anything shake because his contract is just too big for him to be a role player. You get what I'm saying? Like it's kind of hard. So for New York, I can see Rubio, but for New York, I I think Michael Brogdon should be number one priority,
mm,
then Jalen Brunson, then Rubio.
yeah. See, I reckon Brogdon really fits their team better than nearly anyone else besides maybe Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo would have been the guy they should have heavily targeted, like defensive, great playmaker, doesn't necessarily need the ball in his hands. He doesn't need to like take shots away from RJ Barrett, is what I'm trying to say. But there was the other report going around just saying that the New York Knicks are actually looking to go a lot younger, which is why I don't know if Brogdon works out. And it weirds me out that the Knicks might be going younger. I have this report, if I can, find it, that as well. They're shopping Julius Randle. Did you see that?
I didn't.
There is a report going around. I don't know where it is, but they would be considering trading him eventually. Doesn't that sound like I don't know why they would do that. Like, do you need to go that much younger? Like, he's only 27 years of age. Toppin's cool and all, but would you trade away Randall? Like, that's the question that I have.
For New York, I know Julius Randle has had his struggles, but personally, I don't think that would be in the best interest of the Knicks.
Yeah.
Reason being because when you do, especially when your team has already tasted the playoffs, this core that you're talking about, trade like Julius Randle, y'all had chemistry making a playoff with this roster, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense trading Ju Randle for a player that may not work chemistry-wise because it just looks bad, right? You trade the player that was the number one option, who was the leader of this team, away for somebody who might not mesh with the roster. Me personally, even though Julius Randle hasn't been consistent this season, I would want to attach a star to Julius Randle and possibly make Ju Randle like a second option, which I think honestly that's where he is in right now. Like, and it's nothing wrong about being a second option. I just think right now he kind of he's showing that like that type of pressure is just he can't handle that, right? Like, not every player can handle New York media and New York expectations of doing some legitimate damage in the playoffs, you know? And he was, like I said, a good enough player to get New York to a playoff winner. Me included, was not expecting New York to get to the playoffs. Yeah. So, me personally, I think I wouldn't trade him. Maybe trade Fournier. And possibly, let's say Kemba to try to attract something and use. Now, this might be a time to use y'all picks and y'all salary cap to attract the talent. But Ju Randle, I would have him untouchable right now. Yeah. Unless y'all get a player like. If you get like De'Aaron Fox, you get a Bradley Beal.
I actually think Fox would be interesting for the Knicks too. But just so people don't think I'm like bullshitting, I don't know if that's gonna. Oh wow, this is really not focusing up. That is not working. I don't know why my camera's not focusing up whatsoever. Here's an article by Bowler VIP, which is reported by a dude named Ernesto Cova, which I don't know anything about this guy. This wasn't the report that I got it from. This is just one of the first things that came up. But he's also reporting that the Knicks are shopping around Julius Randle and could move him in the offseason. There's a website called heavy.com, which on the 3rd of January, according to a Knicks insider, said he could hit the trade block. So it's like there's been so many different ones that have kind of just come out.
Is it possible for you to share the link on the
share screen? Yeah. I might have to do that if I search it up. But like, if I'm the New York Knicks, I'm just not really trying to trade him at all. Like, because you gotta look at it like this. He might not fit necessarily like the best age gap and this and that. But let's be honest here. The guy brought New York out of where they were. Not just that, he signed a contract extension which wasn't the max contract. Like, he could have gotten a ridiculous deal, which was like 33 to 37. And I think he's getting 27 million a year. So he possibly saved them around 10 million a season. Yeah. This guy he's not a guy to trade, I don't think. I think you got to keep him, but it begs the question, what's going to happen with Obi Toppin then? Because like, he's had a lot of signs where he could be a solid player, but yet again, that guy's like 24 now, 25. Like, he's not as young as what people think, right?
Now, you're right, but that player right there, that's the type of player you use for trade bait. Like
Obi Toppin.
Because like you said, like right now, New York has did a good job these past 2 to 3 years establishing a culture again that y'all are committed to y'all players, right? Trading Ju Randle destroys all of that. The past 3 years, right? So what you do, you got Cam Reddish. That was a great trade. He can potentially be a scorer for you guys. But if you want another star, I'm trading Fournier. I'm trading Obi. That's who I was thinking of. And you possibly trade Kemba Walker. And try to lower in a star and throw in some picks and try to lower in a star. Because y'all have the assets. Y'all have the money and y'all have the market, right? Which a lot of teams in the league just don't have right now.
Are there too many shot creators on the Knicks though? Because like, if you trade for another star, you're expecting to get a shot creator in, right? And if you look at it like this, they've got Cam Reddish now, RJ Barrett, and Randall, who will all be starting. That's three guys that want to shoot the ball. Plus, they've got Kemba now. Kemba's there. They need to get rid of Kemba because, like, bringing in, they already need to get rid of Kemba before they brought in Reddish. Now there's just way too many shot creators on that team. Like, it's ridiculous. You know, a dude like Karl Anthony Towns would actually help out, I reckon, at that center position. I think I honestly would go and try and get Cat because, like, I think if you want to go deep into the playoffs, I don't think you can have Julius Randle as like your best player. But if you had a core of like Malcolm Brogdon at the 1, Reddish at the 2, RJ at the 3, or maybe Reddish would go at the 3, who knows? Randall at the 4, and you know, maybe Cat at the 5, then look, you've got Brogdon who can definitely play off ball. We all know that. And then you've got Cat who I don't think people realize how lethal is Cat, you know, when he plays off ball as well. Like Karl Anthony Towns could average 25 a game while playing off ball. He's that good of a shooter. It is ridiculous. I think they should go for him. But I wouldn't mind Brunson. Like if they couldn't get Brogdon, I wouldn't mind Brunson, but 20 million is a lot of money. Like a lot of money. The issue I have with the Cavs and Sexton, like you talked about Hardaway earlier, they're paying Hardaway that much money and teams don't want to trade for him because his best fit is being a shot creator, I think, off the bench. And that's the same with Sexton. Is his best fit as a shot creator off the bench, or could you see him start as a small shooting guard or a dude that guards the 1? It's not going to be on the Cavs, right? You just can't guard the 1 on the Cavs, you know? So it's a big issue. I think Brunson, I still think he'd be good on the Knicks, though. It's tough, though.
Yeah, he would be good on the Knicks, too. And I also want to talk about Cat because you bring it up. Cat would be nice on the Knicks if they had the right point guard. And I think all of the point guards they have are not right for Cat.
Yeah, I agree.
Because like you said, I do think Cat, like, little do people know, Cat offensively is a lot better than a lot of people give him credit for. I know it's because his team has been consistently good. But like you said, Cat offensively is a monster. But the thing about Cat, though, he's the type of player he has to have, like you said, Alonzo, Rubio, Rondo type of point guard. He has to have somebody who's looking to give him the ball, right? Like it's very rare for a center to be able to create his own shot. So and like you said, all the guards they have are shot creators, right? So I think they would have to establish that too. And I think they still haven't established it because they thought Kemba would be the answer. He's not the answer. They was hoping Derrick Rose could be supplement, but he's just not healthy right now. They got Moutier, but I don't know if they're still as high on Moutier. I'm not Moutier. Quickly. Yeah. I don't know if they're still as high on Quickly as they was before. So there's a lot of things they have to answer. But right now, I think they play this season out. Like let's assume they don't make a trade during this trade deadline. I think they play it out, see what happens in the offseason, and I think they have enough chips to make some move.
Could Brunson be the guy that goes with Cat? Could he be a point guard that you'd look at? Yeah. Because he can play make.
Yeah. And the reason, too, because like I said, when Luka's out, like if you see a Dallas game when Luka's out and he starts and he's the primary ball handler and KP's available or one of their backup centers is available, so anyone like Maxi Kleber or anybody, they get shots. He looks out for them. Honestly, I think he would be forgive me, I think he would be a lower tier Darius Garland to an extent because of his excitement to try to get his team involved, but still has the ability to create his own shot. So
I like that comparison a lot. I actually really can say that. Look, the other thing I have an issue with is people will say, well, Cat and Brunson, they're not defensive guys, right? And they don't fit with Tom Thibodeau's style. But like, if you want to be a successful team, not every guy on your team can be like super defensive. The only team in the league that like I think 100% does that is like the Cavs. Like you look at the Cavaliers, every single guy except for like Kevin Love and even Markkanen can defend the perimeter now. Like every guy plays their defensive part. But on the Knicks, they don't have that foundation. Like if you want that, then maybe you do have to trade Randall away because he's not he's not going to be as elite as a defender as someone like, Evan Mobley or, even who's another really good, like, power forward defender, even Anthony Davis, right? Then he's never going to be anything like that. And if you're Tom Thibodeau, you're expecting a guy to play really, really good defense, and you're not going to get that. So maybe it's more of, I think Tom Thibodeau needs to adapt to change his style more than the players need to adapt to fit his, because like you can't. I don't know if you can pass up the opportunity to get Jalen Brunson because, like, look, it's a lot of money. But me and you have both seen the potential. This guy could come into the Knicks next year and average, if he starts consistently on 30 plus minutes per game, could average like 18-6 or 18-7 without being the primary shot creator. He has the capability. He's like, what, 24 now, 25? He's got the capability to do it. And I think you go big or go home with Karl Anthony Towns. Like, he would be amazing on that Knicks team.
Yeah. And it's crazy you say that too, because I agree. Tom Thibodeau, he's going to have to adapt because right now, even right now, all the players he has is offensive-minded players. Like, Cam, that's having his best – he can play defense, but he's having his best offensive season with less minutes. RJ Barrett he's an okay defender, but he's more so a streaky offensive player who try to get the shot. Like you said, Julius Randle, Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker, all of those players we've named today are offensive-minded players, right? You can argue they're average defenders, but they're not they're not Tom Thibodeau level defenders.
Yeah.
Because even when Tom Thibodeau had Derrick Rose in Chicago, the reason it worked because everybody else was defenders, like Luol Deng, he had Joakim Noah, Loser. He had not Kirk, but he had
Jimmy Butler when he progressed later on.
So I think, like you said, I think he's in a situation, and even all the names we've named, Jalen Brunson is not a defender. Karl Anthony Towns is not a defender. I've seen your video where you was talking about Don. If they get Don is not a defender.
Wait, who was that? Sorry,
Donovan Mitchell.
Oh yeah. That's crazy that the Knicks are interested in him, dude. That it freaks me out. Like, I'm sure you saw that report where it said that Donovan Mitchell could look at a bigger market team. That pisses me off. I don't think that's happening. I hope not, at least.
Yeah. The only player I see if the New York try to trade for, which I think would low-key make sense, is if they try to get Jaylen Brown. That'd be the only player you can sit here and say, on y'all rumors, is a legitimate defender.
Yeah.
But can score.
Miles Turner as well. He's a defender that could come into Tom Thibodeau style.
True, but what I've been hearing, a lot of teams kind of got backed out of him when he got the foot injury, including Dallas. So
really?
Yeah. Because as soon as they reported he was going to be out for a week, then they elevated to 2 weeks before he get reevaluated. It was like Dallas.
That's risky. Yeah.
They was the first 10. It was like, nah.
this guy could have a more serious injury than what we think, right? Has there been a report about Jaylen Brown and the Knicks? Because I know I haven't seen a report on it. But that's who you were talking about earlier, right? Jaylen Brown. Yeah. So I haven't seen a report on that. But what I have seen reports on is the Celtics and Tatum and Brown. Do you think they need to break them up, or do you think going forward they need to be together? Because surely if a team with Harden, Irving, and Durant on the same team, right? Even Patty Mills, all four of them are shot creators, right? Even though Mills is a great 3-point shooter, he can play catch and shoot, whatever. They're all shot creators. Surely the Celtics find a way for Jaylen Brown and Tatum to work, or do they need to be broken up? What do you think?
In my personal opinion, and I think Boston fans might like this answer, I don't think they need to be broken up. I think they just need to stay healthy. Because every time they get the chemistry right, one of them get hurt, right? Because last season they got really close to the playoffs. They was being really, really good. And then JB was just out. And then Jason Tatum had to defend for himself against Brooklyn. Right. So, and honestly, right now, I think the team as constructed right now is good for them. I think they complement both. I think they can get another center. I think if they could get Miles Turner, that would be perfect. I know they just got Boba.
Horford's on the trade block right now. It was announced this morning that they could be looking to trade him, which that's a weird one. Like, okay, first of all, Celtics fans know this as well. Like, even though Celtics fans, they will tell you themselves that they know they're one of the hardest fan bases to like. They're so passionate, but like the thing is with the Celtics, and they will agree with me on this. Why did they trade away Kemba Walker for and a 17th overall pick for Al Horford and like a Moses Brown, and then they ended up bringing in Dennis Schroeder, who's just a discount Kemba Walker? Why? What was the point? You know what I mean? They could have actually drafted someone solid with that 17th overall pick or traded it for a future first if they weren't ready. What was the point? Like, I beg the question. And now Horford's on the trade block. Like,
Yeah. I my thinking on that, I think they really. All right, let's start with the pick, right? With the pick, even though I think you're right, it would make sense if you wasn't faithful with that pick, just trade for another one or just a later one. But I think their intent was, we don't got no time to even wait for the development of a young talent. So we're going to cash out. And then they got Horford and Moses Brown under the intent that they already would know their role with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Unfortunately, they realized Al Horford is past his prime, completely past his prime.
yeah.
And they quickly traded Moses Brown, which
For
I didn't
Josh Richardson, right?
Yes, right?
Yeah, and Josh Richardson hasn't been too bad on the Celtics, but I feel like he's very overpaid. $10 million for that guy is ridiculous.
Yeah, which is why I think they should have just kept Moses Brown. Because Dallas don't even really play Moses Brown, but I think they could have just used this for length, just defense. They don't really need him for offense. They just need him to sit in the middle, honestly, block. And I think Boston was in a situation where they just wanted to make sure they didn't want to do anything too crazy to disturb the chemistry because I think they was all in with their roster currently. I think it's just so happened that right now, health and the players they thought were, like I said, is past their prime. Like Horford, I think they expected a little bit more production from him. Josh Richardson too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You know who would be good for them, and they could maybe struck a deal here. Malcolm Brogdon. We've spoken about him just a little bit ago, and I think would Brogdon not be perfect for the Celtics? Because he can play make. He doesn't take shots away from Brown and Tatum, and he's another catch and shoot guy on the team that can help defend, right? And plus, you could probably get the deal done because, like, you throw in a first round pick, Josh Richardson, and someone else, or even Marcus Smart. What's going on with Marcus Smart? Because half the Celtics fans like trade him, the other half are like keep him. I think they got to trade him eventually. You need like to change the scenery up. If you could trade Marcus Smart and like a first round pick or something for Brogdon, I would do that. I think Brogdon's that special of a player, and I think he makes a lot more sense for this team. He's going to average like 5 or 6 more assists per game than what Smart will. He won't put up as good defense, but his 3-point shooting, dude could average 38% to 40% for this Celtics team. Do you think Brogdon would help out at all?
I think he would help, but if I were to trade with the Pacers, I'd probably want some bonus for Boston. And then I might resign Schroeder or try to intrigue Rubio for
Rubio, yeah.
So I try to get like assuming I'm not a biased Cavs fan, I would really I would pursue Rubio and I would trade for Sabonis now.
Yeah.
Honestly. But I can see that Brogdon, like that would be interesting.
Yeah. My issue with Sabonis and Rubio is where's the 3-point shooting gonna come? Like they brought in Evan Fournier to add a catch and shoot guy to play with Tatum and Brown. But then Fournier dipped and they were like, well, who do we replace Fournier with? And they just didn't get anyone. And I think if you trade away Smart, what does Smart bring to the team? Great leadership. That's one. Great defense, great hustle. And he's a Celtic at heart, right? But in my opinion, it might be time to move on. And Malcolm Brogdon is an elite catch and shooter that will fulfill what you wanted Fournier to originally do. But in an upside to Fournier, he brings good defense and great playmaking as well. That's why I think Malcolm Brogdon would be so special on that Celtics team. I don't even think you really need to trade away Horford. The issue is he has a $27 million team option. And if you decline that, he's probably not going to come back. So you say to yourself, well, we can decline his team option and we can sign him on like 5 million or whatever, which saves us 22 million, but he's probably not going to come back, you know? You can offer him the deal, but if you tell a dude we're not going to give you $22 million, then he's probably not going to want to be there. And there could still be a team out there that could use Horford as a very nice role player. So it's a tough one. It's a very tough one with Al Horford and the whole Celtics team right now. They're in a really weird spot. I don't know how to fix them because it's like, it's not going to be easy to trade for Malcolm Brogdon. And you can lose Al Horford, but who are you going to sign in free agency to like replace him, you know?
Yeah.
Is there that many better centers in free agency than Al Horford? Or do you just ride it out for one more year and say, we'll give you the 27 million?
If I'm Boston, I'm not. That would be the last option to renew that contract.
Yeah.
Honestly, to give him that team option, because even though, like you said, the free agency is lackluster, it is better for y'all as a contending team to have that capital available and not to waste it on a player like Al Horford, who's simply going to be very hard to trade anyway, or even harder to trade.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to get that much tick anyway. So I think what you do, even though it's going to be really, really hard to do, if Al Horford really want to play and his value is really that high, I would try to get a sign and trade off with Al Horford. I would opt out of the team option and then hopefully get a sign and trade. You probably not going to get that much value back. You probably get like a second round pick maybe. But I would not renew that contract at all costs. But you're right. I think Boston is in a weird situation because it's like, what do they do? Like, what player do they truly get trade deadline in the offseason that really flips the script for Boston, right? Because Boston, for a lot of people, we thought at this point would be what the Chicago Bulls are right now, right? And right now, which is weird, the East is as strong as it's ever been in years. This is the best Eastern Conference we've seen in the past decade for sure, where you see these top 10, like literally the 10 best teams in the East are crazy, right? Like you got the Cleveland Cavaliers playing better than y'all, and y'all would arguably have 2 all-star caliber players already, you know? So the Boston Celtics is going to have, they're going to have a lot of stuff to answer. And I personally think they have to figure out identity too. But I just don't think they have to trade JB and Tatum because I don't think they're going to get full value for either one of them. Yeah. Really JB, because I think they're going, because I know it's rumors they was talking about let's do JB for Ben Simmons. No. You do that, I'm telling you, Boston Celtics will be doomed. You don't trade a player who can shoot the ball for a player who's potentially not going to shoot the ball at all, and to say like no, because that's all he would be is a taller Marcus Smart that doesn't shoot.
Come on, give me a bit more credit. He's a way better playmaker, but I agree with
you.
He
would be a better playmaker, but it's just so much playmaking. Like, it's just so much playmaking you can do when you yourself even said Boston don't have that many shooters.
Yeah.
So you gonna throw it to Jason Tatum 55 times, and then they're gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna double team Jason Tatum and just cut that off now.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think the Celtics, they could somewhat blow it up while keeping the core of Tatum and Brown. You know what I mean by that, like, right? Like, not of course trade those two. You keep those two. And you change the scenery around. Maybe that's the better words for it. But what I mean by like changing the scenery is Al Horford, other than like the last 2 seasons, has been on the Celtics for a long time, right? You could send him away. You could send away Marcus Smart, let Josh Richardson and those players walk in free agency. You could bring back Dennis Schroeder, but realistically, they could actually have a fair bit of cap in free agency too. Like, there should be some team out there that would want Marcus Smart on the team. Like Houston Rockets, who could be looking for a backup guard that can play some good defensive minutes. He could go on there. I mean, $16 million, I think, could be a little bit of an overpay for him, but there has to be some team out there, right, that would want to, maybe try and trade for him. And If you trade him away and you don't do Al Horford's team option anymore, that's 27 million, 16 million, 5 million for Dennis Schroeder, 10 million for Josh Richardson. They could be looking at bringing in like 4 new role players on around 10 million a year, and players that could potentially change their team, like a Ricky Rubio. Like a Rubio could be a dude they look to offer, we'll give you $12 million in free agency, come in and average, we don't need you to put up shots like you're doing in Cleveland. Just come in and average 8 assists per game, and you get your bag and will improve much better as a team. That's what I think the Celtics should maybe do, but it is a really hard one. But I think don't get rid of Jaylen Brown. That'd be stupid. It just wouldn't make any sense. But another player that's kind of being talked about right now, who at the time of doing this stream, in the first half, I might add, in the first half of the game that he's playing right now, so he's a center, right? Can you guess who this is? He's a young center, young up-and-coming center. He scored 28 points, 3 blocks, and 7 3-points made from the field in the first half. Who do you think this player is?
You said a young player.
Young center who's just scored 28 points in a half, 3 blocks, and 7 threes at the time making this video.
Let me look at the teams that's playing.
Don't check the stats of like any of the teams.
I'm not gonna check this. You said a young center.
Because the Toronto Raptors are interested in this player, and he is going off right now.
Is he in the Eastern Conference or Western Conference?
Eastern Conference. Toronto Raptors fans are probably like, hell yeah, get him to the team. So I'm going to ask your thoughts and opinions on him. You ready? You ready for me to tell you who just scored 28 points and a half?
Ooh.
Mo Bamba has just dropped 28 points and a half, 3 blocks, and 7 threes.
Man.
And the Toronto Raptors were reported to be interested in him a couple days ago. What do you think about that? Should the Raptors go full steam ahead for Mo Bamba?
I actually think that would be pretty decent for the Raptors, honestly. I think they got the perfect combination of young talent as well as vets, and they don't really got a true locked-in center too right now. I think that would be dope because Siakam's at the power forward. They played they kind of
starting at center this year, isn't he? He's been like their starting center, right?
They alternated him with Scotty Barnes because I know Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, true.
And they be like, but even if they just, let's say hypothetically they did Scotty 3, Siakam 4, and then let's say Mo Bamba 5, that would not be a pretty bad core. Like that would be Cleveland tier. Like you got this 3 7 feet players like that. Defensively, it would be crazy.
And he's on a very friendly contract. It's like 12 million a year or something, which is like, dude, that's not hard to trade for. The Raptors got so much cap in free agency now, especially if they're gonna decline Dragic's. If Dragic, I think, is he on a team option? What's he on? I don't know what he's on, but he's on 19 million. And I don't think he'll be on that anymore. I think this year was the player option he did the 19 million on. So he's a free agent, $19 million off the books right there.
I want him on Dallas so bad too.
Yeah, Dragic would be pretty cool. Is he even playing anymore?
No.
I feel like he played like 4 games and dipped.
Yeah. Actually, I'm curious. I'm really curious. What?
I feel like he just hasn't played anymore. But you know what the thing as well is? I forgot, Raptors fans, forgive me, because you guys can be ruthless as, but I've forgotten their like president or GM's name. But he's apparently been looking at all like these lanky type of guys that can guard like 1 through 5. Why he drafted Scotty Barnes? Because Scotty Barnes can guard 1 through 5, right? And Mo Bamba, I've seen him switch on the perimeter, and he's held his own. Realistically, if he's a dude that can switch onto the small forward or power forward on the perimeter as well, I feel like that fits in with what the Raptors are trying to build. And then you look at a really like interesting team like there. Like realistically, I think it would be Scotty Barnes at the point guard, right? Like I think he's eventually going to man the point, like predominant ball handling. And then you'd have Fred VanVleet at the shooting guard position, I think. Because I think VanVleet's mainly been the point guard this season, but I feel like they want Scotty to take that next step, if you know what I mean, to be like the main ball handler.
Mhm.
So you'd have Van Vliet at the 2. OG Anunoby at the 3, Siakam at the 4, and then Mo Bamba at the 5. And then you'd have Gary Trent off the bench as your 6-man, a high-level scorer.
That'd be a really tall lineup. And also too, you was one game off. He played 5. Goran Dragic.
Oh my God, you're kidding. I thought it was 4. Anyway, like the Raptors are like the 8th seed in the East right now, right? And they're doing that without a center in like Mo Bamba. And they have like no bench. Their bench is extremely young and very underdeveloped. Could you imagine if they actually went out in free agency, signed like 1 or 2 players for around 10 million a season, brought in Mo Bamba, brought in someone with like pick 13 or 14 this year, another year of Scotty Barnes progression, the Raptors could be a seriously good team next year.
Yeah, with that much left, you talk about Scotty Barnes at the point guard. That would, like, you potentially got what, like 3 7-footers potentially.
Yeah, well, what's Barnes? Barnes is like 6'10", right? Siakam's like 6'10". And then Mo Bamba's like 7 foot. Yeah, OG's like 6'9", 6'10", right? Isn't he?
Jesus Christ.
I think he's pretty tall. Van Vliet's your only small guy in that lineup, and he can play off ball. Like Van Vliet can play off ball.
Yeah, when it comes to defense, I just have Van Vliet play 1s or guard 1s.
Yeah, he would guard the 1. Yeah.
Yeah, I have Scotty Barnes guard 2. Well, depending on who the player. Because if I'm playing, let's say Utah, I'm gonna pick Scotty at that 2. Let you die. But
realistically, they have so much like movement in that starting lineup. Like Siakam could still probably guard the small forward if needed. He could probably switch onto a smaller 5. Same with OG. OG could probably switch on 2 from 5. He's done it before. The switching would be like Cleveland level switching, I think. So what would they have to give up for Mo Bamba though? Because like I honestly wouldn't. I don't even mind the Magic playing Wendell Carter at the power forward position though. Like, are they really that like in a rush to move him to the 5? Because he's been good at the 4 this year.
Yeah.
So how much would Mo Bamba be? Because like, I mean, if you're the Raptors, I'm giving up a 1st-round pick for Mo Bamba. Like, not this year's 1st-round pick, but next year, if I'm bringing in 2 players on 10 million a season, bringing in a dude at 13, pick 13 or whatever, and bringing in Mo Bamba, I expect to be like a top 7 seed. So I don't care about giving a 1st in the future, right? So I think, I'd give up a 1st. I'd give up a role player or 2. But I don't know. They don't necessarily have so many players on the bench that the Magic would want. That's my only issue with the trade. But I don't think the Magic are really desperate to move on from Mo Bamba either. So maybe that's going to be a thing that the Raptors might have to play hardball with.
Yeah, you would have to definitely. Yeah, you would definitely have to give them a decent offer because I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want anything that's guard related because they got literally 1,001 guards. They might what's a forward that might be tradable? You might have to give up like OG to even get Mo Bamba, honestly, because I'm not sure how high they are on Jonathan Isaac now due to the fact he's been out for so long and they don't know how he's going to come back off this injury and they paid him so much. But
OG would actually be pretty good on the Magic as well.
So yeah, they would have to give up somebody with size. That's the only way I can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a tough one, but I think Raptors got to go full steam ahead for him. But I think we'll move on from the Raptors now because actually, well, we could stay and talk about the Raptors because there is a trade. Not only are they interested in Mo Bamba, but according to Evan Macy, have you heard of him? Evan Macy's a reporter of Hoop Analyst who I've kind of talked about before. He's actually reporting right now that Raptors and Pacers have open discussions about a trade involving Miles Turner for OG Anunoby. Because that actually could work for both teams too. I don't know if it'd be a straight swap. I mean, I don't know who would throw in who, but I wouldn't mind that either.
I can see the Pacers doing that.
Because the Raptors is a tough one because you could continue with Mo Bamba, but Miles Turner's also.
I just don't see the Raptors. That'd be interesting.
Straight swap or
I don't think it'd be a 1-for-1. I don't think it'd be a straight swap. I think it would be some extra stuff in there to sweeten the pot because I know the Raptors, for their perspective, they're gonna play hardball. They're gonna be like, "Hey, man, Miles Turner, his foot keep acting up. We can't do that. He's extended. He got some big money. We still got to pay him. And we give you a young, promising player like you say you want it, but you're gonna have to give us something decent, to take this. So, but if the Pacers were to do that, that would be a good trade for them, though.
Yeah, that'd
be a perfect trade for them.
I agree. I think OG on the Pacers would actually make a lot of sense. But yeah, do you have to give up more if you're the Pacers? Because I don't feel like they're wanting to give up more because they're already shopping away Brogdon, Turner, Sabonis, Lamb, Levert, everyone and their dad, right? And I think they're expecting to come out of this with at least one All-Star, a couple of solid role players, and some first-round picks. And you should be able to get that out of those 6 players because Sabonis is still an All-Star. Brogdon is worth a first-round pick and a protected first-round pick from someone, right? Some good team would have to offer up at least that. And Turner would have to be a protected first-round pick and at least a solid role player, I would still think, from some team. Like if you're the Lakers, if you trade him to the Lakers, you're expecting Talon Horton-Tucker, a first-round pick, and even Kendrick Nunn out of Miles Turner, I think, because THT hasn't been that great this season. First round pick, Lakers should still be good enough where a first round pick doesn't matter too much to them. And Kendrick Nunn hasn't played all season, so that is what it is. But if you're the Pacers, you're expecting a lot out of these players, and I think that's why they're playing such hardball, because not only are they maybe not getting what they want, but these players are contracted for a long time. And it's not like these players are like necessarily interfering with them being good anymore. Like they're bad, right? So they can keep these players on the team and still tank for a pick. And then they can eventually, they can play hardball with them, still get a good pick, and then trade them off eventually for what they see as what they actually want, right? So I don't know if it is.
Do you trade, like, let's say hypothetically with all those names you said, like,
yeah.
If you don't trade, let's say you trade 3 of the 4 of those names, do you really have to trade every single one of them?
That's another question. Do you?
Because me personally, I think they're gonna end up being left with Miles Turner. I think they will find a partner for Sabonis. I do think they're gonna find a partner for Caris LeVert.
Yeah.
I really think they're gonna find a partner for Brogdon
eventually.
But I think Miles Turner is gonna be the odd man out because of the injuries, because of that. The article I had seen, it was like as soon as he got that injury, a lot of teams just backed off. They're just scared.
Yeah.
But would it really be that bad to really, let's say you
keep
do
1 or 2?
Yeah, because if you get these young guys you're talking about, and a lot of these players are not big, so we're talking about you're getting like forwards and younger guards. Would you be more willing to keep those players with Miles Turner now that he's in a situation he always wanted?
I actually believe it's the opposite. I don't think Turner would be the one that stays. I think Sabonis would be the one that stays.
Really?
I think teams are desperate. There are still teams out there that are desperate for Sabonis. Like, let's just say Sabonis' foot injury is a lot worse than we think, and he's still a month away or something, right? The Hornets don't care. If they don't care, they got Mason Plumlee as their starting center. If they have to give up a protected first-round pick and Mason Plumlee and something else to get Turner on the team, they're doing it, right? And this could be a perfect opportunity for the Pacers to get a dude like PJ Washington, who's on the trade market too. Could you imagine getting like Plumlee, PJ Washington, a protected first for Miles Turner and I don't know who, maybe just a dude like Jeremy Lamb or something like that? You're probably doing it, right? Both teams win from that trade. Washington's not fitting too much in on the Hornets. He's a young dude that can help out. Plumlee's nothing. He's a salary dump, salary matching. And that protected first round pick to the Hornets means nothing. But to the Pacers, Lamb doesn't mean anything to them anymore. They need to get rid of Turner eventually, need to have a fresh scene. I think Sabonis is the one that would most likely stay for their team because I don't think they're getting enough back for Sabonis. I saw a mock trade the other day where, so a month or so ago, it was reported that Phoenix were interested in him, right? Because the Suns, he would be good for the Suns, I think. Like, the spacing wouldn't be a little bit questionable. We could just bring Jay Crowder off the bench or whatever. But there was a rumor that the Suns offered like Landry Shamet, Dario Saric, a first round pick, and another contract filler. And that's just not enough for an all-star. Like, Saric hasn't even played this season. Shamet's a role player. I think Sabonis is the one that stays. That's my thing on it. I don't think they find a trade for him. It's going to be too hard.
I can see that.
Yeah. But the OG one, when we look back at that, Turner and OG, I don't know if necessarily they would have to give up more because I think the Raptors need a center. It's just, can they get Mo Bamba? Will they eventually start getting desperate for one like the Hornets and that are? Because if the Raptors are really good next year and in the same spot that the Hornets are this year, do they then say, well, they already are nearly pretty at the same spot, but I think Hornets are closer to contending, if that makes sense. Do they then say, well, we need a center like the Hornets do? If they can't get Mo Bamba, then I think the Turner conversation starts to get a little bit more interesting because if Dallas don't want him, there'll be teams out there, right? So it's a tough one, but I get what you mean from the injury point of view, though. That injury, I mean, to keep extending it week by week, there's clearly an issue there, right? So
because like me personally, that's where I kind of disagree. I only with the Raptors, with the Raptors part, I would see them be more interested in Mo Bamba than they would be in Miles Turner, which is why I just don't feel like they would especially if on their side they have to give up more for Turner. Because honestly, I think if the Pacers hit their line and was like, hey, we give you Miles Turner right now, if you give us OG Anunoby a pick and something else, I don't think they're taking that deal. I say that. Unless they're getting less, like you said, Jeremy Lamb, maybe a second round pick, like something to sweeten that up just to say, just in case this happens, I just don't see. Because like you said, I think the Raptors realize if they get the right pieces within these 2 years, they can be back in contention. I really see that, especially if Scotty Barnes takes another leap, like he's been this first season, which I didn't expect. And then you keep Siakam, and then Van Fleet keeps balling like this. I think they back in it, but like I said, I think I can honestly see how this could really change on the dime, though. For sure.
I agree on the Mo Bamba take. They should go way more for Mo Bamba than they should Turner. And I do agree on that OG and for Turner. To be honest, I don't think it would be a straight swap, but I think it's more of me saying that I don't think the Pacers would trade away Turner unless they got a pick. Yeah. So that makes me think that the Raptors would have to throw in a pick to make this happen. But I don't think the Raptors will, which makes me think that the Raptors probably will be off the table unless they start to get really desperate, which probably won't happen because I think they'll patiently wait for a dude like Mo Bamba to pop up. And that could be, it's so hard though because Mo Bamba, I don't see why the Magic would want to trade him. So it's a big tough one. I think we move on now. I don't know if there's necessarily too much more we can talk about, that, but some other stuff when it comes to the Pacers, but this time the Cavaliers and even the Nets really with Joe Harris. I want to know because the Cavs are being super aggressive in this trade deadline. It was reported that Kobe Altman and the Cavaliers are one of the most not desperate, one of the most what's the word for it? Intense teams right now when it comes to scouting players for the deadline. How do we make something happen? Because when I look at Harris, he's on 16 million. When I look at Eric Gordon, he's on 16 million. When I even look at Karis LeVert, I think he's on 19.50 million or something like that. How do we make this happen if we want to keep Markkanen. Does
The only way
Rubio
you get
get
that done
looked at?
is Rubio.
Yeah.
That's the only way you get, because I was about to quickly say Laurie, Rubio, and a Colin Sexton extension.
Are the only ways of making this happen.
That's the only money-wise you can get that deal done.
Yeah. And Sexton we rule out automatically because we actually can't contract extend him anymore.
Yeah. So that leaves you two. That leaves you Rubio. That leaves you Rubio and Laurie.
And who would want to trade for Rubio when he could get traded to the team and just leave in free agency straight away and never play for the team?
So then that leaves you with Laurie, which means how much faith does Kobe Altman has in Laurie Markkanen? How much faith does he have in the experiment of putting him at the small forward position, right? How much faith do even JB Bickerstaff have in his progression in Cleveland, right? So, which is why I think you really haven't seen anything huge, because I think Kobe Altman right now, he's just looking at the cards he got dealt right now. He's looking at the cards, and I think he is kind of understanding.
He's being
the
patient
only part.
too.
Yeah, he's being real patient, because he understands the one card that's just the same is just keep being the same as Laurie Markkanen, because he is truly the odd man out. Like because I'm pretty sure he's not going to trade a player like Isaac Curl. He's not trading Garland. He's not trading Mobley. Realistically, you're not trading Kevin Love because his contract is just too big to flip. So, like I said, like you can possibly trade Jetty Osman. That's possible, but you would probably still have to attach another talent.
Yeah, because his contract is just
work.
That's the thing that when it comes to Cavaliers this year too, I think in the off season, I talked to you about the Cavaliers need to be patient, and I don't think we shouldn't waste our money. But in the same time, we may need to sign a mid-level exception guy that's worth like $10 million this offseason. So I think we'll have the freedom to do so. And why we need to do this is because we don't have enough players to match up contracts. If Rubio's he's on 18 million or so right now, right? I think it's 17.5. But if we can bring him on 10 million, there's a salary matcher. You sign another dude on 10 million, another salary matcher. Osman, I think his contract's actually getting cheaper, which I don't know if that helps us out. I think I don't know if this sounds right, but it almost would be like the Cavaliers would be better off paying Osman 8 million than 6 million, because it almost is like it matches contracts better. And then Windler's only on 4 million.
Yeah.
So we need to bring in some guys. Is similar to what the Knicks did, where the Knicks brought back like 3 dudes making 10 million a season and Fournier making 18 million a season. I think it'd be nice for the Cavaliers to do that. And the other avenue where we could make this happen is not only could we sign a dude on the mid-level exception for like $10 million or something like that, but Colin Sexton, if we were to extend him for 20 to 25 million and do a sign and trade, we could actually bring back some tradable contracts. We could maybe bring in 2 players who are making 10 million a season as well, right? Which could mean, and even a player maybe making 15 million and a player making 10 million. I think this would help out to bring players in like Joe Harris and Eric Gordon, and because these players will keep popping up for the Cavs. And I don't know if we make this move this year, because Joe Harris hasn't really played this year as well. And I don't know how interested the Nets would be in Markkanen.
Realistically, in my personal opinion, I don't think those bigger contracted players is going to get done. At least not before the trade deadline. Because like you said, the odd man out would be Laurie. I just don't think Kobe Altman is going to trade him for those players, mainly because you can trade him here and they can simply walk. Just like that. And I think like you said, Kobe Altman has been real strategic right now this season. More strategic I've ever seen him, but at the same time more aggressive than I've ever seen him as well, right? And I think Kobe Altman, I think he's trying to put his ducks in a row right now, because like I just don't believe he's going to make a trade that's not going to benefit the Cavs right now, right? Because and it was some I was going to go with that too, but like you said with the contracts, right? I don't believe Kobe Altman is going to get in a situation where he's he signs pointless extensions, but I do think he is going to sign certain players very similar to how the Lakers did Kuzma and Horton, where they extended them to make them more tradable.
Yeah.
Right. And you notice because that's the reason they couldn't trade Kuzma at first, because his contract was just that low. Like the only thing they could do was just more like a second round talent. And as soon as they bumped up his salary, then you can make a trade happen so clean. You know what I'm saying? And even Horton, that's why Horton trade value went up, because his numbers, monetarily, was right enough where they could somewhat attract a star or, borderline star. So I do think the Cavs could, I think they are trying to get their books in a row to do that. But I don't think Joe Harris is going to be a target we get for the trade deadline. Eric Gordon, I can see that, but honestly, I think it depends on how much faith he has in Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah. Well, Chris Fedor, who's the head reporter at Cleveland.com, actually suggests that he thinks that Harris is the favorite in his eyes. But according to Kobe Altman's eyes, he thinks it's Karis LeVert. While he thinks Brogdon's the one that's hanging like close second in his eyes and Altman's eyes, and thinks that the outside chance is Terrence Ross. I think Terrence Ross would be more of a dude that we would like. I don't know if we can do this, but in the off season, if like we had a mid-level spot, somehow we could trade a second to bring in a mid-level player like Terrence Ross. I don't think it's how it works. I think you actually have to sign them. You can't trade for them, which sucks because I'm not saying Terrence Ross is the guy, but I'm saying that his contract would be nice. You're also getting a situation too where you don't want to have too many players like on like 10 million a year, right? Like if we're trading away Sexton for 2 players and signing a mid-level exception, then you got a core of like 12 or 13 players you need to play every night, and that's just not realistic. Which then begs the question: do players like Windler and that, do they maybe get moved around for a second round pick or something just to free up another roster spot?
Honestly, I can see names like that get free. I can see Dylan Windler, as much as I don't want him to be traded, I can see names like him getting traded for the Cavs.
Yeah.
Like I said, the smaller tier players, the more just for change of scenery, right? Because I don't see any big names for the Cavs really getting, like, I can see Karis LeVert, but like I said, it depends on how much faith he got in Lauri Markkanen. But at the same, and actually, I can see that for the Pacers standpoint too, taking Lauri Markkanen as well. But like you said, players like Terrence Ross, I'm looking at in free agency. I think you can get that very reasonably, 8 to 10 million a year. But at the same time, like you said, you want to be strategic, because at the same time, you don't want to sign like 4 or 5 players at $10 million contracts, because you still have to be, because you're like 1 year away from having to extend Darius Garland, then you 2 years away to extend Isaac Okoro. Well, if you're going to do that, so you still have to have that available just in case. So
Dean Wade's another name like Windler who could get traded for like a second round pick. People
what was that name
like
you said?
Dean Wade. Because people might say, well, maybe is Dean Wade and Windler, are they worth more than 1 second round pick? The thing is though, they possibly are, but if you're freeing up roster spots, you don't really care too much what you get back, you know what I mean? Like, if we were to free up a roster spot, you either waive the guy or you get a second round pick in return. And there will be teams out there that would take on Dean Wade. There's teams out there that would take on Windler. And there's one team that could take on Markkanen that could actually give us a little bit more back. And that's, do the Rockets say, because the Rockets want to keep building this really nice young core, right? I know they really need to bring a defender to help out Christian Wood, but do the Rockets say, we're going to move on from Eric Gordon. We'll give you Eric Gordon and one of those Brooklyn first round picks, which would be like 28 or 29. Do you offer that for Lauri Markkanen? And do the Cavs accept that? Because, Gordon's still on like 2 years of like 16 million a season. And he's like 34 now. But he's just such a solid player, wasting his time on a bad team. So I don't know. What do you think? Do the Rockets rate? Would Markkanen be a guy for them?
I don't even know if Lauri Markkanen truly fits Houston. Mainly because I think they have a lot of, because you're right, they do need a defender at that power forward spot to try to help. But I think they low key want at least Segun and then the Kenyon Martin Jr. and all those forwards to kind of get those minutes. I guess you could argue Laurie Marketing could play the small forward in Houston as well, but I don't know. I don't think he'd be the guy because defensively he doesn't solve the problem that you're looking for. Maybe from a size standpoint, yeah, but from a defensive standpoint, no. And then offensively, I think he'd be okay for Houston, but not what they want.
Right. So we've kind of ruled out all our options then. Who do the Cavaliers trade for?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. Because, I mean, the player you got to trade, well, if it's going to be a big name, it's going to be Laurie. But at the same time, it's like, do you want another ball handler? Do you want to try to get a wing? Do you if we really wanted a wing, if the price for Cam Reddish was really that low, we could have gave up that for Cam Reddish, right?
Could have.
And not even had to trade Laurie Markkinen. Like, we wouldn't have traded Laurie Markkinen either. We would have had him for essentially free. Yeah. So the trade idea I had really for Jetty Osman, we really could have just gave up Jetty Osman in the second rounder, and we would have been good.
And you know why?
You're the second round.
Yeah, true. Do you know why Chris Fedor said we didn't get him? Because we didn't want to add another shot creator into the team yet that would ruin the flow of the ball movement. That's what he said. And is that true? Like, because he said they love running the ball through Garland and then they love the ball movement and creating shots for each other. But then if Chris Fedor was to say that, and Chris Fedor knows what he's talking about, right? Like he's a very smart dude and he said something like that. What does that mean for Colin Sexton's future? Because in the same interview, he said that Sexton and the Cavs want to mutually agree on a contract. So if that's true, if the Cavs didn't like Reddish as another shot creator, why the hell would they like Sexton as another shot creator? Or do they already see maybe Sexton coming back and there would be no need for another dude like Reddish?
I think it might be the second option. It gotta be then. Like Kobe Altman might have the intent to really extend Colin Sexton because it's no way you straight face say we don't need a shot creator. Especially if you're going off right now, we don't need another shot creator when a lot of the people that's questioning us, or at least our offense, is because we just don't have another shot creator. Which must mean, to your point, then Colin Sexton must be the guy.
I think that's what Chris Fedor's hinting at.
Yeah, and I think that might come. I think they believe in Darius Garland and Colin to create shots, create the offense, and they think that two right there could be the dynamic duo offensively, and then they can give Mobley and Jared shots. So that might, that could low-key be an Easter egg to what's gonna happen.
And the question is too, why can't Sexton and Garland? The reason they don't work is because Sexton is a hog. And I'm not afraid to call him a hog. He hogs the ball. It's just what he does. But if Sexton could somewhat do what Donovan Mitchell does of pass the ball around until you create the right shot, which I think he was trying to do a bit more of, it just was taking a long time. If Donovan Mitchell can guard the two at 6'1", and Sexton's, I think, a more lankier the guy than what Donovan Mitchell is. Why couldn't it work? If Sexton did actually start passing the ball and realize that Garland's the guy, why couldn't it work? That's the question I have. And maybe that's what Kobe Altman is saying to himself is, Kobe Altman is probably saying right now that Sexton's value might actually be too low to trade him. Because right now, because I think eventually we could get 2 to 3 first-round picks out of Sexton because the guy's only like 22. But what if secretly right now we don't know that his value's only salary relief and a first-round pick? Then maybe you do contract extend him, right? So maybe that's why they don't want Cam Reddish because it's just another guy to contract extend in the same year Garland is. Maybe they go, well, we're already going to bring back Sexton on. I hope it's less than $22 million a year. Then you might do it, right?
Yeah, because hold on, let me do a little calculate. Let me get the mighty calculator. 2 million. Let's say 5 years.
Yeah.
So that'd be one. So yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
Because I did say me preferably I would like anything because I don't think he's going any lower than 100. So let's say 100 to 130 million, and right there with those, if he's doing 22, that's 110 for 5 years. So I think that would be a real deal for us.
Yeah, it could fluctuate to like 23 to 24 million as the years go on, which is super tradable. Could you imagine in year 5 the guy's getting paid like $25 million and that's when the salary jumps? I don't see why that's not tradable.
Yeah.
But
I do think he is going to get above 100 because Jared Allen got 100. So realistically, I do think 110, 120, 130 is probably his benchmark. But
dude, you know what would be crazy? Like, I consider us to be 2 of the biggest Cavaliers YouTubers around. Like, I don't want to sound like an absolute flog, but I think me and you are. We're definitely. Look, I don't want to say it, but we're definitely top 5. But anyway. Chris Fedor would be awesome on the podcast. Think about that. Questioning him, getting some more like Cavs insiders. We can't really pay him, but like if the dude wants to come on and talk to Cavs fans, that'd be a cool thing. Thumbs up right there. Chris Fedor, I'm calling you out, bro. I don't know I'm gonna put this in his DMs right now. Me and Relly, we want you to come on the channel. We want something to happen. Let's do it because we want to talk more about Cavaliers. So I think it's the right idea. But is there anything else about the Cavs that catches your eye, maybe?
Honestly, is it? Because you talked about Eric Gordon, you talked about Lauri Markkanen. Oh well, I guess really, Ricky Rubio. Like, why do you think the Cavs is really intrigued to trade him now? Because at first it was like when he went down, it was just rumors that it was no doubt we was going to try to extend him as much as possible. But now you're hearing rumors that Ricky Rubio might get traded for players like Eric Gordon, Caris LeVert. Why is he thrown in there?
I don't want to say Chris Fedor said it because I don't think he did, and I don't want Chris Fedor to watch this and be like, I never said I never said Ricky Rubio was getting traded. Someone said it, and I don't know who it was so I'm not going to say this as my official source or anything like this, and that it's officially confirmed, because for all I know, I could have caught it out of the corner of my eye on some unreliable source. Someone mentioned it, and I swear it was someone like a decently known reporter that said that if something was to happen and they couldn't move on from Markkanen, teams out there are intrigued by Ricky Rubio, right? And it would make sense. Like teams out there like the Celtics and that would love to have Ricky Rubio on the team. It's just that they know there's a big chance he might not come back and might never ever play a game for them and might never step foot in their arena and stadium. But it makes me wonder, with the Cavaliers now having Rajon Rondo as a minimum guy and Brandon Goodwin playing really, really solid basketball and Darius Garland killing it, how many more and Sexton apparently getting extended? How many more guards do you need? That's the question.
Well,
but you just don't want to let Ricky Rubio walk for free, do you?
No. Because then I was going to throw at you, like, since you was talking about Marcus Smart, would you trade Ricky Rubio for Smart?
No.
You wouldn't do that? Okay.
Nah. I don't want Marcus Smart on the Cavaliers. Don't do it. If Kobe Altman's watching this, don't get me Marcus Smart. Something about him, I just don't like the way he plays.
Why not? He might be a little dirty from time to time.
No, not that. I don't care. I don't care if he smacks someone in the head. I don't like how he's such a great defender and all of that, but can't do anything else. Like his 3-point shooting it's always the same. It's always 31% like every year.
Yeah.
You never know. He's never going to get better, I don't think. His shot creating is not great. I want a guy that can at least, hit a shot consistently. And I think we already have that. So I don't think we need Marcus Smart at all. Are you more higher on him than I am?
actually really do like Marcus Smart. I probably wouldn't trade him for Rubio though,
Yeah.
but I really would. You know, I think he'd be decent. But like you said, we do have a lot of guards. So, and the only position we are really, really lackluster in is our small forward position, which, you know, I'm going to beat that until the horse is completely dead. And I think we should get a wing. I just don't know who that wing is going to be.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Joe Ingles. Seen Joe Ingles get
Yeah, I saw
thrown
that.
in there. You know,
I mean, that's a free agency type thing more than anything. If you want Joe Ingles, you're not going to go out and trade for him at this point. And I think Ingles will stay. I don't think Ingles will ever like leave the Jazz until he has to leave the Jazz. So it's, and also would Ingles be on the verge of retiring? Because what people don't know about this is Ingles and his wife is actually his wife was a very big netballer in Australia. Do you know what netball is?
No.
You've never heard of netball?
No.
Okay, so netball is the biggest female sport in the United Kingdom, I believe, Australia, New Zealand, those countries. So basically, it's like basketball, but there's no backboard and you can't bounce the ball. Once you catch the ball, you have to stand. You can pivot your foot around, but you have to stand, right? You may have seen it somewhere, yeah. So she's really good at that, but they also have a son who has, I think, pretty bad autism. And I think they've struggled a bit there. So in my opinion, Ingles would either stay in Utah or return to Australia. So I've seen a lot of teams talk about maybe trading for Ingles, and I don't think he would go. I have a feeling if Ingles was to get traded, he would call it quits and go play Australian basketball. You know what I mean? So, and his wife, he was a really good netballer that probably wants to go back to Australia to commentate, coach, do her thing, right? And I just don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think I have that feeling. So would you take the risk though? Would you trade for him or would you sign him in free agency? Or do you think Ingles is like done in the league if he leaves?
I don't think he done, but I would try to sign him.
Yeah.
Because right now, I don't think we really have. Well, we got the assets to trade for him, but I don't think it makes sense for us to trade those assets for a player that's going to be available. You know, I think he's one of those players you just if you don't get him in free agency, it is what it is. You know, you just so because I think Ingles knows he got a lot of value in the league. Like a lot of people, a lot of teams like Joe Ingles. Cleveland can use him. The Lakers can use him. Utah can use him. Like it's a lot of teams that can use the services of.
Do you remember what he said when Rona was happening in the bubble? He actually, I think he tweeted out. He actually said that he was contemplating retiring, going back to the NBL, and going and playing there. Yeah. So that makes me think that I don't know if this guy would leave. Like if this guy had to leave the Jazz, would he really? He doesn't need the money, he's on a lot of money. You know what I mean? He'd get money in Australia too. How much does Joe Ingles need the NBA anymore?
I don't think he needs it, or especially at this age, part of his life, his age of his life, whatever. He don't necessarily need it, but at the same time, I don't think he's done with it yet.
Yeah.
Because I think he could, like I said, he can milk a couple, not no large contract, but he can milk a couple more like $5 to $7 million contracts.
Worst would be like $3 million as well. Like that's the worst he would get.
And he can also be on a couple of contending teams, like championship contender teams. Like I could even see the Warriors trying to sign him. Honestly, like
that was a report. Yeah,
you know, so I can see which is why I don't think he would just leave. You know, or even if he did leave, I don't think it would be for long. Like it'd be one season, then he'd be back, kind of like Lance Stephenson, kind of. But you know.
Yeah, Stevenson, isn't he on his third 10-day contract? Like, that's so funny to me to think. Why don't they just sign him at this point? Give him the. They
had said they had did it, but it was an incorrect report.
Yeah, Ingles actually, he does a lot of off-court stuff too. Like his, son, of course, has autism and stuff like that. And I think it's, pretty high. I think when I said bad earlier, I think that was the wrong word. I think it's not obviously a bad thing necessarily. It's just it's a difficult thing to process, especially for a family, that has so much on their plate already. But Ingles, I think, has been doing a lot of like autism awareness stuff on the side too. So like, I don't know if he wants to base something like that in Utah or if he'd do that in Australia. But dude's got a lot on his plate. I don't know if he will. I just don't have a feeling that he would leave the Jazz. But hey,
Yeah.
the Cavaliers would be a team. Like he would add 3-point shooting. He'd be another dude that could ball handle if we had another guy get injured. Great passer, can move the ball around, can guard really the 1, 2, and 3. Not a solid defender, but he does the job. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think this whole entire guard wing thing for the Cavaliers is going to be interesting because you look at it now. Garland, Goodwin, Rubio, Rondo, Sexton, Windler's still there, Okoro. There are a lot of wings on this team. People don't realize that the Cavaliers have like one center and Ed Davis. Like, we don't really have any center depth at all, do we?
No, but I think they supplement it, but by like
Having
because a lot of
Mobley.
people, because they be because like anybody that watched the games, y'all know how they have well, obviously they have Mobley, Jarrett start, but then as soon as something happens, they had just pit Mobley at that 5, then take Jarrett out, pick K Love at the 4, and that'd be their version of a small ball, even though it's not small ball at all. Then they take out Mobley, pick K Love at the 5, then they pit Jarrett out. They literally just alternate it. So if they were to get another 5, I think he would probably be in the same situation as Ed Davis.
Yeah. I agree. I think the only time we'd need to get another 5 is if COVID hit again, right?
Yeah, which I think that was the reason they kept Ed Davis, just in case that happened again, because it was a situation where we was out from Jarrett, Evan Mobley, and the only pick we had available technically was K Love and Laurie, which we ended up alternating him, Ed Davis, and K Love around. So, and then we tried to play Taco Fall too. We had him. Because that's who was really supposed to be that other center, but Lord have mercy.
Lord have mercy. You can't really say anything about Taco because you don't want to get flamed in the comments.
Yeah.
For being honest.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that guy. But yeah, the Cavaliers, this should be interesting. Oh, a part of me also says, I don't know if I want to give Ingles $3 million when we've already got Windler on $4 million. You almost just want to keep developing that guy who's already there. So
question to you, would you try out Lamar Stevens at the small forward position?
Yeah. Well, naturally, Lamar Stevens is a small forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But in 2K, he's a power forward.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense. Also, 2K, if you're watching this, fix his face scan up, please. Like, oh my God, he looks so bad. And he's still a 71 overall player, like.
Yeah.
Come on now. I don't know what's going on there. Do you reckon anyone trades for Dean Wade and Windler? Do they have any interest around the league?
I think the Lakers could use both of them, honestly. They need people who have any type of potential of shooting, and that's both of them.
Yeah. Could you imagine Dean Wade getting flamed in LA though?
It would be brutal.
It would be.
It would be brutal. I will admit that LA market is like, I thought the Knicks fan base was toxic, but I think the Lakers fan base is toxic. They are like, if you're not performing.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Philadelphia booing Tobias Harris just because he's got a bad contract. Man dropped like 25 the game he got booed. How does that work? Like, I don't get their team. Their fans are crazy.
They're toxic too. They die hard for their team. I respect that, but they are toxic for sure. Like, if you're not Joel Embiid, everybody else is open season. Like, they're open season.
Oh my. Well, anyway, I think we probably ended off here, right? We've made a lot of big statements in this video. We've called out Chris Fedor. We've called out the NBA 2K community. We've done our job here. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure to go and subscribe to Relly's channel if you haven't already. I'm sure if you're a Cavs fan, you subscribe to this man. He is on fire with his Cavs content. What did you post the other day? 8 videos?
I, I
Eight videos
did.
in one day?
I dropped like 9 videos.
Are you
Like,
crazy?
yeah, yeah. Because I was like, yeah, just let's go ahead and drop
Just
them.
put them out. Go check out
Yeah.
this man if you're a Cavs fan. This guy uploaded like 4 hours of Cavaliers content in one day. Go check him out. Link will be in the description down below. Of course, go and subscribe to the Clips channel if you haven't already. A bunch of these clips and that will all be around. Roaming the internet. I might even do a clip of us just calling out Chris Fedor and then like send it to his Twitter. That will come. And yeah, subscribe to my gaming channel. Yeah, well, IRL/Long channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.